Hey everyone, I wanted to go ahead and make my video for all of the biblical fiction books that I read in the month of March. So far it looks like I actually read 7 for March. So I wanted to go ahead and share with you my thoughts on all of them. I do rate them all on Goodreads, and if you want to, you can follow me on Goodreads as Catherine Bartlett. The first one that I read was called Mikkel by Jill Eileen Smith. And this one is basically one of the ones from the Wives of King David. This is book 1 of that series. So she is the first wife of King David. If you learn about it in the Bible, King Saul, she's the daughter of King Saul. And King Saul originally had offered David, one of his eldest daughter, to be his wife. And David politely declined. Then eventually he offered Mikkel as his bride, and David was able to pay the bride price for her and took her as his wife. So this story is basically from Mikkel's point of view, because in the beginning of the actual story in the Bible, it says that she really did love David. But then by the time her story ends in the Bible, it says that she was found with contempt for him. So after he had danced with abandon in the streets when they finally brought the Ark of the Covenant home. So you have to think, what happened between that time of her actually being in love with him to, how she got so bitter and angry towards him. So that's her story. So this was actually a really interesting read. This one, The Thief by Stephanie Lansom, was actually for my book club that I run on Facebook. It's called Readers of Biblical Fiction Book Club. I wanted to go ahead and share with you about that one because I'm going to link to my book club in the description box of Facebook. If you guys want to join, if you love biblical fiction too, you're more than welcome. This was actually our March read. So how our book club actually works is everyone will go ahead and comment if they're interested in a certain book that they would like to read, and then at the very end, a few days later, usually about 4 or 5 days, I give everybody to comment on what book they would like to read. I numbered them all out in the order that they came, and I put it into random.org, and it'll pick out which one that we're going to read. So The Thief, honestly, it's probably not one that I would have ever picked just looking at the cover or anything, but the story is amazing. I have to say that this is one of the few books that has actually caught my attention so much that I couldn't put it down. I read this book in 2 days. Basically what it's about is it takes place in the time that Jesus is actually walking the earth, and you know the story in the Bible where when Jesus was crucified, 2 thieves hung next to him. Well, this tells the story from one of the thieves' point of view, but she ended up not actually being one of them that was crucified. One of them that was crucified actually took her place for her, even though she deserved that death penalty just as much as him. So this is an amazing story. It really is. I fell in love with it, and I couldn't wait to keep reading. So I highly recommend this one. This one, Shelter of the Most High by Connelly Cassette. Last month, in January, I believe, I shared that I have been reading the Cities of Refuge series. This is book 2. And I have already read book 1 and book 3. So I sort of read them out of order. You can read them out of order. It's best if you don't, so that you can follow along with the continuing characters that come back. But if you do read them out of order, it's okay. So Shelter of the Most High, this is a great series. I love the Cities of Refuge series. It takes place during the time of Joshua, when God had instructed for there to be cities of refuge for if someone kills someone else by mistake, or by accident, like accidental poisoning or something like that, or if they hit them too hard and they just died, that they have somewhere to flee so that the next of kin, which would be a blood avenger, couldn't kill them until, they had a fair trial. And then they would have to live in that city of refuge until the high priest died, or, until they died. So this one actually is book number 2, and if you followed along with the very first book with Derek and Moriah's story, this takes place with their son Eaton, and he actually ends up falling in love with a foreigner that comes to the city of refuge. Now she comes because she's rescued. Sorry about that. So we all know that Eaton was there because his mom had sought to be in the city of refuge for an accidental killing herself in the very first book. So this is a great one, Shelter of the Most High. The next one is Star of Persia, again by Jill Eileen Smith. This is a brand new book, and it is a retelling of the story of Esther. I highly recommend it. It is a great story. Honestly, I've read and seen so many different retellings of Esther, but this one is very unique because at the time in this story, the king also has another wife. He obviously has other wives, but he has another wife alongside Esther, and she's constantly jealous of the attention that Esther gets, and she's constantly causing trouble. So this one is actually a really neat read. That's not really in the Bible where he had another wife alongside her, but I'm sure as a king he probably had many wives. So this one's a great read. Okay, this one and the next one are actually part of a series, A Mother's Sacrifice and a Healer's Touch. These are part of the Ordinary Women of the Bible series, which you can only get through Guideposts right now. You have to sign up for it, or you can just buy each book as they are. I signed up for the series, so basically I get one book a month shipped to me in the mail. A Mother's Sacrifice is Jochebed's story, and she is the mother of Moses. And it tells from her point of view, and then also from Pharaoh's daughter's point of view, of how they both felt towards little baby Moses. And then the Healer's Touch is Tifka's story, and this is about the unclean woman who had a bleeding problem for 12 years and how she touched the hem of Jesus' garment to be saved and to be healed. These are great stories. Again, the Ordinary Women of the Bible series comes out every single month. A new one is mailed to you if you subscribe to it. I think it's about, with shipping, it's about $19 a month, so it's not bad. They're good hardcover books, and they're great. They're really great reads, but what I also like is in the back of them, I'm going to give you a little example. In the back of them, they have actually some nonfiction information about what actually happened, like, in the stories. So, like this one, how they birthed the children back then, what's in the names. I mean, like, there's a lot of pages that's in the back about nonfiction stuff that actually is really interesting if you like research, like me. So this is a great series. I'm not sure how many books are going to be in this series. So far, I know my third one has already shipped out. So I'm not really sure what the other ones are going to be, but it's always a great surprise to see if you love biblical fiction. So, this is my last one, and it's Like Flames in the... Again, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, my phone just keeps on going. So this is the last one that I reviewed for March, and it's Like Flames in the Night by Connell and Cassette. Now, this is the very last one. This is book 4 of the Cities of Refuge series, and like I said, this is an amazing series. It has an amazing finish. I love the story. I love all the characters. They did absolutely amazing with this story, and it finished the series perfect. It finally tied up all those loose ends. So if you really like the Cities of Refuge, this is definitely one that you don't want to miss. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video of all the books that, the biblical fiction books that I actually read for March, and I will keep track on the ones that I actually read for April so that I could do a review of them. And again, I have my, my group linked in the description box.